This is 1340 WJOL. We are Will County's News Talk Sports. It's a Tuesday morning. Time to bring you Money Talks, brought to you by our friends at NuMark Credit Union. Today, we are going to be talking about information. We're going to be talking about security, things that are very, very important when it comes to your money. We'd like to remind you that we'll be giving away a $25 Visa gift card. So listen closely over the next several minutes because Kevin Quin, the NuMark Credit Union Chief Information Officer, will say something that will say a lot of things, but I'll pick one of the many great things that he says out, and I will ask you a question. And that question's will be answered by something Kevin tells you in the next few minutes. So listen intently, because not only can you get some great information to protect yourself and your money and your family, you also might win a $25 Visa gift card. Hey, break free and save this summer during NuMark Credit Union's 60-to-1 auto special. Reclaim the road in your new or pre-driven car or truck with their great rates and exceptional service. You can't go wrong. Apply now through August 14th and enjoy 60 days until your first payment. Call NuMark today at 815-729-3211 or visit newmarkcu.org to learn more. That's newmarkcu.org. NuMark Credit Union, where you are family. This guy feels like family. We've been talking to him for years. It's Kevin Quin. He's the CIO, Chief Information Officer. Hello, Kevin.
How's it going, Scott? How are you today?
I am wonderful. I am fine. I was happy to see your name on my list of people to talk to today.
It's always a pleasure to join the show. It's been a little while now that we've been talking.
That's right. Absolutely. Things have changed in terms of COVID, but, well, they haven't changed when it comes to you guys trying to fight off all the cyber thieves that are out there and everything like that. So how are things at the credit union these days?
Oh, staying busy. We just completed a merger at the beginning of the year, so we're growing, and we've got a lot of exciting things on the way, new products and services, and we're excited to have North Star Credit Union as part of the NuMark family. So we have locations now. We're spanning out to Warrenville, Plainfield, Aurora, and Bridgeport in Chicago. So very exciting times and just staying busy. And in the midst of all of the fun stuff and the projects, new services and everything, it's, also trying to stay on top of, what the latest and greatest in the information security world, and trying to stay on top of all of the fun breaches and exploits and incidents that seem to go on every other day at this point.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt at all. All right, so this is going to be a general question. You can take it wherever you want to go. What is the latest going on in the world of information security?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that the numbers have increased for yet another year in a row as far as security exploits and incidents. It seems like it's on this parabolic journey up with no end in sight where it comes back down. And one of the big things that we're still seeing and that's still increasing is the amount of social engineering attacks. That's just it's really been the easiest way in as far as completing some of these exploits. People calling and getting information over the phone, saying that they're from Microsoft, saying that they're from, with everything with COVID, the fake testing and, fake information about this and that. And with the tax credits or the stimulus, fake information about the stimulus, looking for your credit card information or your social security number to confirm something. And unfortunately, we have a lot of desperate people out there, and a lot of people that fall for a lot of these scams. So one of the other big ones that affects businesses, the majority, is ransomware, which I'm sure many have heard about. If you haven't, ransomware is basically a third-party attacker leveraging their way into a business's system and then being able to encrypt files throughout the entire system. And the key is something that only the attacker knows. So the company doesn't have the ability to unlock those files unless either they get that key from the attacker or they're able to recover from backups. Getting the key from the attacker tends to be a pretty expensive ordeal. Usually they're looking for payments in Bitcoin. And those payments can be anywhere up and towards the millions of dollars. I think a lot of these attackers know the businesses that they're going after, and they know what kind of money that they can shake them down for. Obviously, since the last time we spoke, was that wild incident with the ransomware at on the pipeline, which basically shut down operations for a significant amount of days. And it was the first time I had ever seen ransomware attackers apologize or basically back off from like, we didn't mean to cause such disruption in the world economy, but they're relentless right now. It's, and it used to be there was a gap between the amount of attacks that were happening against large businesses versus what was occurring against small businesses. And those numbers are leveling out. They're going after small businesses as well. I think they're starting to realize that large businesses are starting to realize the pain, the millions of dollars and the reputation cost that they can occur from one of these attacks. So they're going to the small businesses now that maybe they can't get as much from, but maybe there are more businesses rife to exploit right now. And I was just looking, it's a really geeky report, but it's really greatly written. But the Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report comes out every year, and it's really good. And for anybody in information security, information technology position, it's definitely a good read. But right now, they're saying it's estimated that a business will fall victim to ransomware attack every 11 seconds this year. So it's pretty intense out there.
We're talking today with Kevin Quin. He is NuMark Credit Union's Chief Information Officer. Are these cyber attacks becoming more and more common or getting worse, or are we just hearing more about them?
You know what? I would almost argue that we're hearing less about. It almost seems like there's exploit fatigue right now. They're definitely getting more common. The ransomware costs are getting higher. The amount of affected businesses and even basic end users or basic people are being exploited left and right. So, and one of the things that we're seeing is the human element remains kind of the most exploited target in that, and that means as far as like social engineering attacks and anything that involves someone falling for some kind of scam. I think it was in 80+% of some of these, incidents and breaches, the human element is involved. So that's the hardest thing to secure. You can't throw a new level of firmware on the accountant at a company, or, it's something that it takes a lot of education, and it's sometimes hard to get that education. And, as we're seeing with COVID and everything else, when people become desperate, they'll unfortunately fall for a lot of things. And, with all of that, we're also seeing that the amount of money, the returns from these are exponential. I think the United States was they were the worst as far as, the average total cost of a data breach, which was around $8 million. So a significant amount of money. And a lot of these companies now that are perpetrating these attacks, they're well organized. I think a lot more organized than a lot of people give them credit for. It's kind of like a three-tier chain. There's the software developers that are developing the ransomware solutions. They're then selling those to I don't want to call them companies, but groups of individuals. Groups of individuals that then recruit. Individuals that go out and try to run the attacks. They're running phishing campaigns. And there's, if you're going to get involved with some of these companies or business, whatever, it's hard to even come up with a name of these attackers. You have to show your return rate, like that you're getting into a significant amount of systems. They want, they're going to take 40% of what you get. So it's a well-organized system because it frankly makes a lot of money, and it's only getting more well organized, and it's only generating more revenue for them. So it seems like it's been getting much worse. I feel like at some point we have to hit a breaking point with it where something changes. And there's been so many things coming out of the federal government and some of these privacy acts in different states, but it's something that needs to be attacked head on because it seems to be getting exponentially worse.
Kevin, what about COVID and cybersecurity? Any correlation between the two in terms of cybersecurity being more prevalent or less because of COVID?
Yeah, it's, in in that report that I mentioned, the data breach investigation report, what they've found in having a year now to kind of investigate what has happened post-COVID, as a lot of companies have moved to a either a work from home model or some kind of hybrid model of that. They're finding that there has been significant problems with cybersecurity as they've moved to those models, and it's something that information security professionals like myself need to work on, adjust to, and make better. But what they've been finding is that whole work from home, you're increasing the attack surface. So not only are you securing your 5 business locations or your one building, now you've got 70 people, whatever the number is, 30, 100, 1,000 people working from home, and you've got their home networks also becoming involved in the equation. So they're finding things a lot slower now when there are significant incidents, and they're not able to correlate the events as well because of the distribution of those, whether it's happening at somebody's home in Mokina and then, another person's house in Skokie.
Sure.
It's a little bit different than, just having your buildings, what's going on inside of them, and, having that level of control. And the other thing is, there's been a lot of companies that have kind of tried to lessen the burden on staff, and with that has been security training has kind of by the wayside, and now is a time more than ever that security training is a significant thing for staff to be involved in. So hopefully a lot of those companies reverse course and get back into security awareness training, and then it's kind of the natural tendency of not wanting to rock the boat at this time, not wanting to say something if you think something is wrong on your system. So they found a lot of incidents where the employee knew that there were issues of the business, but they had this thing going on their computer, but they didn't want to report it because they just didn't want to be responsible for something that could cause such problems. So it goes unreported, and unfortunately, the longer a longer a breach is allowed to exist, it gets exponentially more expensive down the line.
Okay. What should we do at home? I mean, there's a lot of things, but maybe 2 or 3 things we should do at home to protect ourselves, especially when we're working from home, dealing with people's delicate information that isn't ours, really.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is, making sure you're following your company's policy. I think in a scramble, most places that have started a work from home program have also come up with work from home policies along the way just to kind of navigate how that's going to be handled. So just make sure you're following your company's policies, and the work computer, make sure you just keep it as the work computer. Aside from it likely being actively monitored, you don't want to be the person that is causing the business to be down for 2 days. And really, I mean, as far as anything with like personal accounts, personal devices, it goes back to kind of the most basic things that, we kind of reiterate over and over, but they're just so significant that it's hard to stop mentioning them. Never trust hyperlinks in emails, unless you're expecting it, exactly what it is. And even then, a healthy dose of skepticism is very important to have. That's how so many things get in. Just clicking something simple as clicking a link in an email is, it can open you up to a plethora of threats and exploits.
Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah, another one is and what I always recommend is make a complex password and make it more like a passphrase or a pass sentence. A lot of people don't know that you can have spaces, maybe not every system you have, but you can have spaces in your passwords for most systems. So what I usually recommend is come up with a sentence and then vary that sentence slightly based on each different service that you use. Because you don't want to have the same exact sentence for each one. That kind of goes back into the same issue of reusing the same password. That password is found in an exploit with Yahoo, and then somebody tries to use it on your Gmail account. They can get in, they can reset. That becomes that slippery slope. But vary it, with each site that you use, especially the more high privilege sites that you use. But still, I mean, even something like Spotify is definitely vulnerable to a security breach and that password being found. And you just don't want to be in the position where that password is the key to every castle, that you have. So that's a significant one. And then I'd say the last thing is everywhere it's offered, opt for multi-factor authentication. And when opting for multi-factor authentication, the software tokens, if you've ever seen it where they allow you to use like Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator, basically just an app on your phone that has like a passphrase or like a passcode in it, or sometimes it just has a pop-up that says allow. That's going to be the most secure way to, enable multi-factor authentication. SMS works. A call by phone works. The unfortunate thing about those, and it's better than nothing, but there's more of a risk of your phone number being duplicated if somebody really wants to get in. We've seen it before with, our members have had issues of thinking that they were going to like someone legitimate at a phone company, and that person basically cloned their SIM card, put it in their phone, and then was able to answer FA questions. So it's better than nothing, but the software or the hardware token is definitely the best way to go.
Okay. It's kind of circling back. I didn't realize we could use a passphrase. I assumed it was a password altogether with no spaces. So I'm going to start doing that. I like that. That'll be easier for me to remember too.
Yeah, like any kind of sentence. I mean, we'll run into every now and then there's some legacy systems out there that probably haven't been updated since like 1986, where they'll tell you can't use a space in your password. But more and more, I mean, just because of the security implications, having that longer string of characters and how much more secure that is, you'll find that most modern systems will accept that, and it's much easier to remember than trying to remember like, oh, I used this word, but it had a special code here, and it had these numbers afterwards. I think a passphrase becomes significantly easier to remember. Significantly easier to remember, as well as significantly more difficult to discover.
Got it. All right. Are there some free tools that we can use to maintain our online safety out there?
Yeah, anything like I mentioned before, like getting something like a Google Authenticator, a Microsoft Authenticator, Authy is another one for multi-factor authentication. I think a lot of people, most people have had their Facebook accounts or their Instagram accounts or anything else since, for like 10 years now, before these things were a big deal. But those services do offer the ability to tie multi-factor authentication to their logins. And you might think, what's significant to somebody get my Facebook account? That's just what I use to post pictures. Well, there's a lot of social engineering reconnaissance that can be done from your Facebook account, especially if they have access, into that account, and then basically trying to, into your friends' accounts and everything like that. So even if it wasn't something when you first set it up, usually somewhere in the settings, or even if you just throw it for a quick Google search, you can find out how to turn MFA on for, your banking apps, your social media apps, and anything else. Another thing, everybody has a million passwords right now. So one of the things I typically recommend, tied with multi-factor authentication, obviously, is something like KeePass or LastPass for managing your passwords. It's significantly more secure than actually, writing it down, in your notes or something else. If you can remember all of your passwords by heart and you don't need anything to write them down, then great. You don't need anything like that. But if you find yourself writing down passwords, putting it in, your notes app on your iPhone, then something like KeePass or LastPass is going to be a little more secure option for you.
All right, great idea, my friend. Well, just like that, our time has come and gone. Kevin Quin, as always, we love talking to you. It makes us feel, those of us that are members of NuMark, and I am, those of us that are members feel very confident about our money and our security and everything else with NuMark because you are on the job. Thanks, buddy.
Oh, I appreciate it very much. Have a good one.
All right, man. Take care of yourself. Kevin Quin, Chief Information Officer with NuMark Credit Union. All right, here is your trivia question at 815-254-7300. Again, that's 815-254-7300. Instead of using a password, use a pass what? What did I tell him that I didn't know you could do that he said you could do? Instead of using a pass word, use a pass what? Hi, good morning. You're on WJOL. Who's this?
Terry Perkins.
Hi, Terry. Where are you calling from today?
Joliet.
All right, Terry. A password a pass what instead of a password?
Past sentence.
Yes, a past sentence or a past phrase. You got it exactly right. Terry, nicely done. You have just won a $25 Visa gift card from NuMark Credit Union. How about that?
Thank you very much.
All right, well, you hang on the line. I got to get some information from you. That's how easy it is. And that will wrap things up for another edition of Money Talks brought to you by NuMark Credit Union. Don't forget that 60-1 auto special. You apply now, get approved through August 14th. Enjoy 60 days until your first payment. Learn more by going to newmarkcu.org or by calling 815-729-3211.